Hello everyone. Welcome to Brian Crime TV. I'm Brian. Today we're telling a real missing person case. A man vanished mysteriously from his home. Years later, new clues finally surfaced, but they made the case even more puzzling. David Lewis was a very successful lawyer. In 1993, living in Amarillo, Texas, with his wife Karen and 9-year-old daughter, friends and family saw him as a good husband and father who worked hard and actively took part in charity. On January 28, 1993, Karen decided to take their daughter to Dallas. It was the weekend, and David usually went with them. But on Sunday the 31st, his favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, had the Super Bowl. It was their first NFL championship appearance since 1914. So David stayed home alone. Later that night on the 31st, Karen and their daughter returned home. By then, the game was over. Karen thought David would be home, but unexpectedly, upon entering, the house was empty, though the TV was still on, showing the football channel. Karen noticed the VCR was still recording. Since she knew David had a habit of taping games, so she thought David must have left halfway through because something came up. So she didn't worry much. She opened the fridge and saw 2 chicken sandwiches, which felt a bit odd, because David never liked putting sandwiches in the fridge. She closed the fridge door, then saw David's wedding ring and watch on the sink. These things were strange, but Karen still didn't worry much, since the house showed no sign of break-in, nor any signs of a struggle. Karen thought David had gone to a friend's house to watch the second half and would be back early the next day, so she tidied up and went to bed. But when she woke the next day, David still hadn't come home. At that moment, she finally felt something was wrong. She reported it to police, who soon found David's car near the courthouse, a red Ford Explorer with car and house keys tossed on the floor mat. And inside the car, his checks, credit cards, and license were intact. Police checked David's bank account and found an unknown deposit of $5,000. They also found he bought 2 plane tickets recently, one from Los Angeles to Dallas, the other from Dallas to Amarillo, but it's unclear if he ever took either flight. To explain, flight checks in the US back then weren't strict, unlike at home where flights are always logged. Every flight taken is recorded. After 9/11, the US tightened airport screening and control. When Karen heard this, especially about the $5,000 deposit, she told police that David had recently said he might be in danger. He planned to testify later that month in Dallas for a conflict of interest case. The case involved his former law firm and a wealthy client. David's old firm pressured him to cover up their past misconduct, but he refused. David told his family he would tell the truth in court. Police investigated this lead, but found no evidence linking anyone to the case. Nearly a year passed, with police searching for new clues, but finding nothing. David seemed to have vanished without a trace, so police concluded he left voluntarily based on the tickets, and his family gradually accepted he might never return until a turning point came in 2004. At that time, it had been 11 years since David disappeared. Washington State Patrol Officer Pat Deed was researching cold missing cases online. By chance, he came across a report on David Lewis' case. Seeing David's photo, he realized David resembled the victim hit-and-run case he investigated in 1993. So he pulled the old case file. The accident happened the day after David disappeared. The victim was dressed head to toe in military uniform, with no ID on him. He was walking on Highway 24 in Washington, aimlessly, seemingly lost. Normally, a kind driver who passed him turned around shortly after to warn him to be careful. Returning to the spot, the driver found the man knocked down and the hit-and-run car gone. But it should be noted, the accident location was distant from David's hometown by over 2,500 kilometers. and there were no direct flights between the two. Driving would take more than 24 hours. If the victim really was David, how did he appear in Washington the very next day? David's family said they had no relatives or friends there. In fact, no connection to that place. But after examining the photo, Pat felt the victim looked very much like David, though David's photo showed him wearing glasses. But the victim, in his memory, wasn't wearing glasses. To be sure, Pat rechecked the item list from the case and found a pair of glasses, which matched exactly those David wore in his photo. Finally, DNA testing confirmed the victim was David Lewis. The case seemed closed, solving the mystery of David's disappearance. At least we knew where he ended up, but it raised more questions. Why did David suddenly travel thousands of miles to Washington, a place unrelated to him? And if he left while watching the Super Bowl that night, how did he travel over 2,500 kilometers in less than 24 hours? Also, why was he wearing a military uniform? His family said those weren't his clothes. So, did he buy them himself, or was he dressed by someone else? And why was he walking on the highway that day? Perhaps all these questions only David himself could answer. Alright, that's all for this episode. Regarding this bizarre case, I wonder what smart viewers think. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.